This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Okay, Stroz has put a hard cap on the time for this show, and I want it known, I used to try to keep us within it. He's the one who started pushing us out further and further, and finally I gave in because I was having fun. So we're going to kind of try to keep this one short, but we'll see how it goes. Lions preseason 1 in the books. I didn't think there was any major takeaways. Stroz did kind of have one that we're going to get to. Also, Stroz ruined a great present. We're going to get to that. I'm going to, before I hear the story, I'm going to question whether or not you really ruined the present. You think you ruined the present.
Oh, I ruined it. I ruined it.
And first, the thing that has been, I think, super fun in the Detroit sports world, especially, on social media, Jalen Green kind of taking shots at Detroit. And boy, has Detroit responded. Look, I'm in Houston and I see it here too. I think every city in the world, the people who are part of it have like an irrational level of love for it. But what I love about the way people in the sports world have responded in Detroit to Jalen Green's comments that he wanted to be the number 1 pick, but he didn't want to live in Detroit, I think it's incredible because I think almost all of them would agree that Houston is a more attractive city than Detroit. And still, every single one of them is taking shots at Jalen Green left and right. And I've enjoyed that. You've kind of looked at it a different way, the whole situation.
Well, yeah, I think because I have my Detroit buffs on here. You know what I'm saying? I don't get to see it the way you see it because you live in Houston. And,
it is kind of funny that I get to have like literally that perspective. Well, here's the thing: nobody here
both sides
cares.
of it.
Nobody here cares. The people in Detroit, it's like a big story there. Here, it's like a brief mention.
Well, I was going to ask you. So, like, how is everybody receiving Jalen Green? I would assume that like you've got a freak athlete on your hands here. The dude is athletically super gifted and plays with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I love that. How is everybody in Houston receiving him? I will tell you that I think a lot of Rockets fans, and I think that I kind of have more access to the typical diehard homer who doesn't really want to be objective than I do the analytical sits down and critiques his team kind of fan. But the fans that I'm aware of have done this fun mental gymnastics thing where they wanted Cade, and they wanted to win a lottery so they could take Cade Cunningham. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them have decided that Jalen Green is the guy. He's the better player. Yeah. It's funny because in Detroit, it sometimes goes back and forth. I don't want to say it's split 50-50, but there's a lot of people who have been underwhelmed by what they've seen underwhelmed with his preseason. Shut the fuck up. You know who underwhelmed in the preseason? Trae Young. How are we talking about Trae Young in the playoffs? If you're underwhelmed by 5 games played in Las Vegas with scrubs, get a life. So it's just weird because that's all people have to go on right now. Yeah, no, I know. I've seen it too. I've seen some people start to question if it was the right move, which is absurd. Yeah, I think it's absurd too. This is what I'll say. This whole scenario Jalen Green is the one who kind of started this. He lit the match that sparked the fuse that kind of has all this going. I find it really interesting to see the way Cade Cunningham carries himself and the way Jalen Green carries himself. I think I have more respect for Cade Cunningham coming out of all of this. I'm not trying to kill Jalen Green, but yeah, if you had to pick which guy you want based on how they've reacted, I think it's easily Cade Cunningham. Jalen Green talked about how he wanted to get paid already. I don't think you love that. I think it's probably fake, but I appreciate that Cade is playing to Detroit fans, saying that he wants to be here. Here's what I'll say. I would imagine it's just a business decision, but I agree with you. I agree with you. You also don't have to do those things. Now, when you're asked, you do, but you can just be neutral. I'm excited to go, play in Detroit, and bam, you don't need to pull out the buffs. You don't need to speak to the camera to Detroit fans. So he has, even though I think it's a business decision, he's taken those steps, and I appreciate those. I agree with you on all of that. Plus, this is a guy who, once he found out he was going to Detroit, or once it seemed as though he was going to Detroit, he pulled up YouTube videos. He I'm assuming he got NBA League Pass. Yeah, he watched how the Pistons ran their offense, trying to connect with not just Detroit, but with this team. So he knew what he was stepping his foot into. So I appreciate that as well.
When you really want a job, you're supposed to do your research on the company and show them, I want to be here. And I don't think, it's not to say that NBA players don't do that, but we don't see that publicly the way that we've gotten to. Cade has made it clear he did his homework, that this is where he wanted to be. And I'm sure it's where he wanted to be because he wanted to be number one pick. But still, like, you appreciate that. I'll also say this. Jalen Green's made it very obvious. He was not the guy. I'm going to go so far as to say, even if Jalen Green is far and away better than Cade Cunningham, I still don't think he was the right pick. Because I don't believe somebody who will say, I didn't want to live in Detroit, was ever going to consider staying here long term. Cade may leave too, but you got to have the shot that he stays.
You know, I want to try to correlate this to football, and I want to try to correlate this to a specific football player. Do you remember when Ndamukong Suh was drafted? Do you remember how he politicked and he worked his contract around?
Yeah,
so he would do 5 years instead of doing 6 so he could hit free agency sooner. And you kind of look at how that kind of played its way out.
I don't know if it's quite a fair parallel just because in general hitting free agency sooner is a good thing. Mm-hmm. But you're right. That was definitely a part of it. Like, I think Suh would have come back if the Lions would have paid him more than anybody. But he wasn't certainly, like, he did want the opportunity to leave.
Yeah, he kind of, I don't know. I felt like towards the end there, things kind of got a little bit rocky between him and the front office, be it whatever it was. But I think with the way this has unfolded this preseason, if that's what you kind of want to call it, this summer league, and hearing a lot of the sound bites and the snippets coming out of Jalen Green and seeing Cade Cunningham, the way he kind of works with whoever's on the bench, right? Or just kind of taking command of these huddles when they call a timeout. The one thing I'll say is I'm so impressed by him. I feel like this is a guy who has been there and done that, but this is his first go round. You know, it's one of those things where you, at this point in your career, you can walk into just about any radio station. As long as you know how the programs work, you can run a really good show. But do you remember when you were first starting out? Do you remember the tentativeness?
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you, and this is going to sound pretty egotistical, I could have run a damn good show anywhere in the country from day one. I didn't know that at that time. The biggest thing that has changed is that I have learned how much I already knew. I'm serious. And that's not to say that I haven't learned anything. Mm-hmm. I've really learned that, what I just told you, basically in the last year or so, that the only thing I was missing on day one was the comfort and confidence that, like, I was ready to do this. Mm-hmm. Which I think still goes to your point to an extent.
Yeah. Do you remember when you walked in that first day and they basically sat you behind the board and you were kind of like, okay, like it was a little bit overwhelming, right? There was a little bit of nerves.
The nerves were less about overwhelming. They were like, it was that I cared so much, right? Mm-hmm. And like, you're just like, you were so afraid to fuck something up. And it's funny because, like, open the curtains, the amount you're paid, they expect you to fuck something up. Yeah. I told people that on a regular basis when I trained them. You'd get these kids who were so scared they'd screw up. And I'd been there. And I would tell them, look, try your hardest, but look at what they pay you. They know you're going to fuck up. Just try not to do it too often.
That's basically what I told them too when I would train them. I'd be like, look, you're going to make a mistake.
Not to go off to like a whole different direction. But I did. I told kids that all the time.
But I think more to the point of what we're getting at here, Cade's kind of come in, and I don't really feel like he's made a mistake. I feel like he's carried himself well. I think he's conducted himself appropriately. I think what you've got on the basketball court has been good. Look, Jalen Green's a freak athlete. We were talking pre-show, and look, we both think he's outrageously talented as far as skill goes. But there's a mental part to the game, and I think Cade Cunningham brings that. Cade Cunningham might not be able to jump as high as Jalen Green, may not be able to, I don't know, he might go 7 for 10 where Jalen Green goes 8 for 10. I feel like the athletic level, there's a difference, but I feel like when you factor in the mental part of the game, the way he conducts himself on and off the court, and the way he conducts himself with his teammates, I'll take that any day of the week over. I'm assuming you're going to get a 40-point game out of Jalen Green here very, very soon. I'll take that over that any day of the week.
It's not really a complaint, because if it was a complaint, I would sound a lot like this sounds way more you than me. As much as Cade has made it a point to ride for Detroit out the gates, I personally would have liked a response to Jalen Green's comments. And I'm not upset because he doesn't owe that. And like, I think that, some people appreciate that he's going to, respond on the court. But he's, suggested that he wants to be here, that he's excited to be here. I'd love to see him basically say Jalen Green doesn't know what he's talking about. I came to Detroit, did these things. I had a great time. I'm not upset he did.
Do you think this heats up and becomes one of the better NBA rivalries?
No, because it's a East-West Coast. They're going to play twice a year.
Twice a year, yeah.
They're going to play twice a year, and the odds they ever play each other in the playoffs while on the teams they're on, I mean, Stroz, you're talking well under 1%. Mm-hmm. You're talking, both these teams that have to happen to become, NBA championship level teams and then meet there. So, unfortunately, no, I don't think it becomes anything. I think the best case scenario is that the Rockets play in Detroit to open the season, and you get one fun moment in Detroit. I really don't think it'll be much more than that.
I think you're probably right. What kind of sucks is it just kind of feels like at this point it's kind of a war of words, but it's really not even a war of words. It's basically Jalen Green just kind of airing different grievances or the way he feels, which it's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. You can do your own thing. But you're right. I would almost like to see some sort of backlash or some type of comeback from Cade Cunningham. You know what I'm saying? Like you talked about it. He seems like he's ride or die for Detroit. It would be nice to see him take it to that next level. You have no idea what you're talking about, bro. Just sit down, shut up.
Stroz, I want to move on to your story of how you ruined the present, but if it's possible, I would like you to fix your camera.
Is it still not working?
It was. It actually just shut off. Stroz's camera goes in and out all the time. I normally don't mind. This middle segment is the one where I really like to have your camera if it's possible, but if you can't, we'll live without it.
Let me push on this real quick and see what happens. It's so weird. So my computer, the camera sits on the top and it works some of the time. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I have to push it. There's a loose connection somewhere and it's not great.
Yeah, it's been going fine this whole day. I mean, we have problems often. I think we did last week too. But Stroz, I need you to get your camera to work just for the middle segment. That's the important ones where we talk about real life, Stroz. So I want to see your eyes when you tell me about how you ruined a present.
There we go.
There we go.
There it is.
Welcome back, Stroz. Now tell me all about it.
All right. So remember last week I was telling you how excited I was that I was going to the Lions preseason game?
Oh, yeah.
So I ended up getting things kind of finagled at work, and I was able to dip out of work extra early. And driving home was an absolute nightmare. Ran into all kinds of traffic. I don't usually leave work at a normal people time. I usually leave work extraordinarily late. That's why when we record, it's extraordinarily late in the evening for me. B's an hour difference, 2 hours difference?
Yeah, it's 7:30 for me, 8:30
yeah.
for you.
So it's about an hour difference for you, for me and you. Anyways, I end up getting to the girlfriend's house. She's still getting ready, which I'll be honest with you, I didn't necessarily understand because she's like, yeah, I should be home before 4:30 and I'll jump in the shower and I'll get ready and then we can get going. I said, all right. She's like, do you have a hard time that you want to be out? And I didn't want to give her a hard time because I just assumed that she would be she's the most non-frills, low maintenance person you'll ever meet in your entire life. So I didn't feel the need to be like, hey, we should probably leave at least by 6, games at 7. We're going to have to fight traffic to get down there. On top of all that, that was the first game that the Tigers had come back to Comerica with the chance that Miggy could hit 500. So that's
and there was who was downtown? There was a comedian. Dave Chappelle was downtown too, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was going to be one of those nights where downtown was going to be packed and busy. And this is on me. This is on me, and it's on me for not conducting myself better and for not being better prepared. I haven't been downtown in a situation where it's been busy like that, and I can't tell you how long. And part of it's due to COVID. Part of it was due to moving away. Part of it was due to just
dude, I've been to games, but a full capacity situation. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Been a while. So I was ill prepared, and we ended up making our way downtown. I ended up sitting on 75, trying to get off at Madison for over 45 minutes. And at a certain point, I just lost it. And it started with a slow build. And we were talking about this pre-show as well, where in my therapy, right, I basically have therapy for a lot of different issues, but rage is one of them. And me and my therapist work on this thing where it's basically you check in with yourself. You see how your body physically feels with the emotion that you're about to go through or that you're going through. We also talk about this window of tolerance where like your active brain, like where you think rationally, is engaged. And then when you're outside of those levels, you're just full-blown psycho. So I was approaching full-blown psycho, and I could feel it building. And I didn't do a good job of heading it off at the pass and just trying to cut it off. I tried to make Alyssa aware of where I was going, where I was headed, but this is the first time she's ever seen something like this. This involves me.
It's different from the trip where you almost died.
The one on the in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is much more rage induced.
You wanted to kill her.
I wanted to leave her on the side of a mountain.
No, you wanted to leave her on the mountain to die. That's killing her.
I wanted to leave her on the side of a mountain. Did not want to kill her.
You wanted to leave her on the mountain to die.
I was actually trying to get her on here so she could give you her side, but she has to work, so sorry about that. But all that being said, this involved me punching a steering wheel a couple times, me screaming at a lot of cars, driving very fast, slamming on brakes, her and I kind of getting into a bit of an argument. And then as we got into the stadium, because eventually we did make it there, I missed just about the entire first quarter, which really sucked because that's all you really wanted to see anyways. She got some bomb-ass seats for us, like bomb-ass seats. Super close, and I'll tell you about that when we talk about when we move into our next segment about what you could kind of see and what you could kind of hear.
I love that you had a big takeaway from close seats. That's the worst possible view you can get.
So it was rough, man. And like we sat through pretty much the first half of the game in silence. I tried making conversation, but at that point she was so checked out.
My dad gets that way. He's the only person in my life, literally the only person in my life who I've ever gotten like in a fight or argument with where like it gets to the point of silence. I just don't operate that way.
Yeah.
And honestly, I cannot think of a worse existence. If I was at a football game with somebody who was, especially preseason game, who like was silent, like we just couldn't talk because we were in such a bad place, I would rather go home.
Well, that's pretty much what happened. So this was supposed to turn into a date night. Like we were supposed to watch the Lions game. And from there, we were supposed to kind of try to figure something else out. Maybe go to dinner, maybe go see something, check something out. There's a ton to do downtown if you know what you're looking for. And we had got to the point where I don't think either one of us really wanted to be around each other. And I was like, we got to halftime, and at this point, they started to put the second string in.
I want you to know, and I mean this sincerely, I am uncomfortable listening to this story. Because I literally don't operate that way. Like things, I don't get that angry.
Yeah. Look, I'm
not trying to like, I'm really not trying to like say anything about you. Like I'm uncomfortable because like I can't handle that situation. That's too much for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, look, I don't like getting there, and I always feel like an asshole after.
No, of course not.
I always feel like a jerk after. But this is where we ended up, and I was like, so. They end up the Lions start subbing in their second string, and I was less than impressed. And that leads us to this topic that we're going to talk about here in a minute. But I was like,
what you want to see while you're pissed off is, I can't even name the fourth receiver on the roster. You want to see Geronimo Allison walk in and make a catch.
Right. So I was like, look, if you want, it's halftime. I was like, we can go. I was like, where do you want to go? You want to go someplace else? You want to go get something to eat? What do you want to do? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay. We get outside, and I was like, no, like, serious. Do you want to go do something? We can go someplace. And she gave me the most snippy, flippant answer, and I was like, all right, cool. We're fucking done here. Like, rest of the night, we're good. And we just walked to the car, got in the car, and drove home. And it was the biggest waste. It was a waste of a lot. It was the biggest waste of me calling in a gift for getting the day off. It was the biggest waste in her spending however much money she spent on those tickets. We were sitting 5 rows off the field. They were pretty expensive. I know it's preseason, but still. It was the biggest waste of me paying to park. It was the biggest waste of emotion. It was the biggest waste of just an evening in general. and it spilled over, and it kind of carried through the rest of the weekend, and it was pretty awful. It was pretty horrible. There were some good times in the weekend. There were some low points in the weekend, and it was just an absolute mess, and I ruined it. It was all me.
I don't know how people listening are feeling, but I am feeling physically uncomfortable. In fact, Stroz, I have some things I want to share. You know what? Fuck it. We'll do it right here real quick. I don't care about your hard cap limit. I'm listening to you talk about this and realizing I think that for me is like it's like a trigger. I can't explain to you how physically uncomfortable hearing that story made me. And it's because like the only person I've had those interactions with is my dad. Mm-hmm. And like I've dealt with that with my dad my whole life. And so like I don't think I can have relationships with people where that's a thing that can happen. And like it's obviously not healthy, but like you recognize that, and it's something you work on, and I assume it doesn't happen super often, right? It's just the first time she's dealt with it, so it's not like this is a regular occurrence for you. But like as I'm hearing that, I am like that is like a trigger for me to feel like I want to like I want to shrink and disappear, and I'm not like there. It's a story about this happening, and I'm so uncomfortable. The good news is my story is so fucking lighthearted. It could not be. Of
course it would be.
It could not be.
You are the yin to my yang, B.
So okay, I think I've shared parts of this story, and forgive me if I've shared it all, because I don't even think it's that great of a story, but I think it's a great story in contrast to what you just shared. So I have never ruined a present in that way. I have ruined a present that I was giving away, but I ruined it as in that it was a surprise, and I ruined the surprise. So let's go back in time here a little bit. I'm probably 19, I want to say. And I've mentioned before, I bought tickets to a Taylor Swift concert in oh
yeah, you did.
In Pittsburgh for the girl I was dating at the time. She was a huge Taylor Swift fan.
Swifties, what they're called, right?
Yeah. I don't think she didn't really like care about that part. But
are you a Swiftie too?
No. I mean, I enjoyed her music. I don't necessarily enjoy her new stuff. Dude, her pop music was good. Now that she's kind of left pop, I'm not a fan.
It is good. I'll be honest with you.
No, it is. Like, I don't like that's not debatable. She made really good pop music.
She does.
But anyways, I can't explain, like, Stroz, I am such a, like, I'm a romantic dude. I want to go over the top. But let's be real here. I didn't like working at that age. I tried to work, like, I probably worked like 15 hours a week when I was in college, making basically minimum wage. I didn't really have the money to do something like this. So, like, I have it in my head, like, that this is some huge, giant, like, this is a big fucking deal. Like, I don't think at this point, we had not left the state together. We had gone on trips, but, like, Frankenmuth was all we had done. And she's, like, a huge Taylor Swift fan. It's, like, literally her favorite thing. I'm going to buy 2 tickets. And, like, I'm so fucking into this dude. Tickets were quite expensive.
I bet.
I think I paid over $300 for the tickets. And 19, 20-year-old Brendan didn't have $300 fucking dollars to pay for the tickets. So the first thing I did is I said, hey, like, I need you to take this weekend, which already gives away some sort of a hint. And I don't remember exactly what else I did. Dude, this is the cringiest fucking shit. I'm so uncomfortable with this, but you're going to laugh your ass off. I asked her to contribute to her present. Not the tickets. I think it was maybe my dad had the hotel, because my dad, basically my whole adult life has had free hotels off of points. So I think I asked her to pay for some gas money. And between gas money and the dates, she figured out it was a Taylor Swift concert. And when she opened the present, it was like, yeah, like, it's exciting, but I knew that's what it was. And it was this giant fucking moment I was so excited for that just didn't even come close.
She ruined the present. You didn't ruin the present. Look,
dude, hold on, dude. I
don't know. When you're in college,
present.
When you're in college, you are limited. Especially when well, in your case, you just didn't want to work, but you're limited.
I worked, but I like 20 hours is a busy week for me.
So funny. Look, asking her, I think, to pay for some gas money is not that big of a deal.
When I look back at it now, I'm like, I should have sold like an Xbox before I asked for gas money. That's the most embarrassing shit. We did it for 6.5 years, and I think that's the most embarrassing thing I ever did.
I don't think that's.
I would break up with somebody before I'd ask them to pay for part of their gift now.
You want to hear something funny? So when I was in high school and I was dating this girl, we worked together and we were on our way to the bank so I could deposit my check and then go get lunch. And on my way to the bank, I ran out of gas. She had to pay for gas in my car.
That's an emergency. This is a planned situation.
And we couldn't get lunch.
Situation. I planned a fucking present where I said you need to contribute. Mine is so much worse than yours. I want feedback on that. If I've ever wanted feedback on anything, at Brendan Riley _ on Twitter, at Amar Stroz. Whose story is worse? Because I don't think it's close. I really don't. Her having to pay for you an emergency is literally nothing.
I don't feel like it's that bad. I feel like you're okay. You bought her Taylor Swift concert tickets. They were like $300. Come on. She could chip in. Be a partner. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Not as a present. If it was just something that we're gonna do this, fine. You can't buy somebody tickets as a present and then tell them that they have to contribute money. That's absurd.
You gotta contribute sometimes. You gotta help out.
That's the only present that I can think of that I ruined, and I didn't really ruin it. Like the trip was still a good time.
Hold up. So like Alyssa took me to Milwaukee for my birthday, right? Like that was my birthday present. We did some stuff in Milwaukee and it was pretty cool. I had to pay for gas there and back, and when we were there to go around, like it's the same. Like you gotta help out.
I think, first of all, I still think that's wrong. That's my opinion. But I also think you just fucking send it and you don't worry about the gas money until you start driving. You can't say that ahead of time.
Well, like I didn't we took my car and I just filled up with gas. And
you can't be like, I want to get you a gift, but you have to provide this much money and take this weekend off. You can't do that.
I don't know. I don't feel like you were in the wrong here.
The whole trip was crazy. It was like we drove there the day of the concert, went to the concert, and then drove back the next day. Dude, I was so broke. Like that done a couple of years later, that trip could have been done so much better. But yeah, I was not in the financial situation to be making those kind of gestures at that point in my life.
But look, live and learn, B. And I don't think you did anything wrong. I got your back all day.
All right, so Stroz took one big takeaway from the Lions preseason game that he didn't enjoy, and that was?
Actually, there might be two things I took away, but the big one is there is zero depth on this team. I was floored watching the second string get subbed in, watching these guys try to play. I didn't realize the floor was this low. Like we talk about where the floor is, we talk about where the ceiling is, we talk about what a good season could be. And you and I both know the NFL season is a season built on attrition. And the best availability is just being available to play. When, not if, but when starters go down and get hurt, it's going to be an extremely long season.
So when we planned this topic, Stroz texted me, you had a good tweet about the Lions' depth. And it's so funny because, Stroz, I remember almost everything I tweet. Mm-hmm. I regularly reference them to you. But I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's because to you, it was a realization. To me, it was just like, this team is so bad. And the tweet was something along the lines of, do the Lions have a skill position player on the second team who would make a roster? The answer is Jamal Williams. But take him off the picture. I don't know if the Lions have a backup quarterback, wide receiver, or running back who would make the roster of, I mean, maybe they make the roster in a league, but like a playoff team? Like I think I can only name 4 Lion receivers. Stroz, I watched that whole game. And like you were there. So like you not being able to name them is a little more forgivable. I watched it with the sound on. And all I can name is Tyrell Williams, Brashad Perriman, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Geronimo Allison. I think the reason I tweeted it is because I got to a point where every single time they said the name of the pass catcher, I didn't know who they were.
You're like, who?
Any of them.
Okay.
And it wasn't even like I didn't know he's on the team. It was like, who the fuck is this guy? And at running back, who's after Jamal Williams? Dude. Jamar Jefferson, they took in the 7th round, but Craig Reynolds?
Yeah. I think your other funny tweet that you sent was regarding Craig Reynolds. Like he essentially is the Zach Zenner for all.
And here's the funny thing, Stroz. It wasn't about Craig Reynolds. It was about the other running back who broke off a good run. I think it was something Evans, D. Evans. Funny story about that actually. I tweeted, looking forward to Lions fans being pissed off when Detarian Evans or
gets cut.
Denarius Evans, whatever the fuck his name is, and some random girl quote tweeted me and said, "You must not know D." And I was like, I hope I'm wrong. You must not know D. Never too late to delete this. Like, he's going to be some superstar. And then he just gets out fucking shined by Craig Reynolds.
Craig Reynolds, who signed on Thursday and rushed for a touchdown on Friday.
Guess what, D? You're not making the roster, bud.
Not happening.
I don't know if Craig Reynolds makes the roster, but you don't.
Listen, this is something else that I noticed. And I noticed this because of the seats that we had. So I got there towards the end of the first quarter, and I got to watch that last long drive that the Lions had with Jared Goff in the end zone. He was essentially right in front of me, trying to make random passes. He has zero. When I say zero, I mean zero strength on his passes.
Yeah, he's a noodle arm.
This has me so concerned, especially when a guy like Tim Doyle comes in. What's his nuts? I'll be honest with you. I thought it was Tom at first, but it's Tim. I had to look it up while I was at the game.
If you eliminated all the first string guys, and then you gave us the first initial last name of all the backups on offense, and see how many of those first names we could get right.
Well, that'd be a fun game. We should do that next week.
I think we might struggle.
I think we would struggle. It's one of those things where watching him throw a pass and listening to the ball come out of his hands, like you could hear it when he threw it. It had some zip on it. He hit was it Bentley? I think Bentley's one of the receivers.
White, the corner that Martin Mayhew drafted in the third round a few years ago.
No, not Bill Bentley.
Is he still in the league?
I don't know if he's still in the league. Anyways, he hit one of the wide receivers
back in the day and just guess the first names, like not even like for fun. If you saw like I don't know A. Sherman, you're like, oh, that's definitely Anthony Sherman. Like you just called him Anthony because you didn't know and you didn't assumed.
Know. Yeah.
Do you ever do that? I used to do that all the time playing Madden. If I didn't know, I just assumed. That's basically what we're gonna do here.
Anyways, he hit the receiver in the chest, like just hearing the ball smack off his pads. I was like, holy shit. Like he can throw. He has zero accuracy. Like throwing behind the guy, throwing way too far in front of the guy, over his head, basically hanging him out to dry. Zero accuracy whatsoever. But he had some zip on the ball. Compare that to Jared Goff, who's much more accurate, but zero. When I say zero, I got my hand in a circle around my eyeball when I'm looking at you. Zero speed on any pass. That's a concern for me, especially going from the quarterback that we once had with Matt Stafford, who had a freaking cannon.
Receivers won't drop balls because it won't get there. People will undercut them.
It's true.
No, I mean, yeah, the floor is the floor. I know it was famously said once that the floor is this, or the ceiling is the floor, or the floor is this. I don't remember what it was, but the ceiling is the roof.
The ceiling is the roof, yeah.
But the floor is the floor. Like it is, it's concerning. Not concerning is the wrong word, but like if there are years, and many of them, where you can go into week one and think, hey man, maybe they can surprise me. I don't see it. Mm-hmm. I don't. The only way they surprise you, and this I suppose is in play, is if the defense is really good. Because the offense is going to struggle, and it's probably going to be ugly at times. I actually like, this is saying a lot. I think the 5.5 Vegas total on the Lions is like egregiously high.
You know, after watching this first preseason game, I kind of feel the same way. Originally, I was like, yeah, 5 wins. They should be somewhere in between 4 or 5, maybe 6 wins. If for some reason they catch a hot streak, they win 7.
If you gave the Texans Jared Goff, I would rather be the Texans. However, Tyrod Taylor has thrown about as many passes in the last 4 years in the NFL as I have. So I question whether or not he still has anything left in the tank.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't have anything else. You know, the preseason game to me, I don't ever take a lot away from preseason games, and this team's not good. I guess if I was going to say anything, Amon-Ra St. Brown had like a nice play or two. Craig Reynolds had a couple, but I don't give a fuck about what you do against dudes who got cut this week. Like, you saw how Tim Tebow looked this week. Craig Reynolds was beating dudes who looked like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't got anything else. I do want to say, I wanted to talk about pizza this week, and Stroz overruled me. So we're going to do that next week. I don't know what else we're going to do, but you can count on some pizza talk.
Maybe we'll do that, the Guess the Lions first name game.
I don't think it's a full segment, but it could be fun.
I think I'm gonna pick 5 guys out and I'm gonna throw them at you.
I kind of like the idea of us both doing it, but I worry that we pick the same 5. Can we pick a third party to give us 10 and split them?
How about you? How about you want to do the defense or you want to do the offense?
Give me the offense for you. I'm going to go. Oh, yeah. I'm going to give you offense. You give me defense.
Okay.
5 names each.
Okay. Deal.
That's going to be embarrassing. How many do you think we get right?
I think we each probably get 3 right. And probably 2. We probably get 2 right.
I think honestly,
go 40%.
I think we could go over. And I'm going to be giving you skill positions. I might take one offensive lineman to throw it at you, but it'll be primarily skill positions.
Do you want to do it where we have to guess what position they play?
Sure, we'll do all of that. We'll have some fun. Next week sounds like it's going to be fun. I can already tell we're going to make ourselves look stupid, and then we're going to talk about some pizza. We'll have a good time.